welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and we are building Janky decks in Commander here. And this one is going to be the winner of my video that I did a couple of weeks ago about creatures that should be commanders. I did a video on a bunch of creatures that are not legendary that I think could be legendary and definitely make interesting build arounds. I had a poll, everyone voted, and the winner, which was a surprise to me, was Ojutai Exemplars. Prince of Thralls was actually in the lead for a long time, and I thought for sure I was going to be making that deck. And then a couple days later, I come back to do the final check, and Ojutai Exemplars has taken the lead. Mono white creatures or commanders tend to win a lot of the polls that I make, interestingly enough. So 2 white, human monk, 4/4. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose one. Tap target creature, or it gains first strike and lifelink until end of turn, or exile it, then return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So the reason I like this as a commander so much is, first of all, I love that it's a modal aspect where I can do a lot of different things. There's a lot of things to build around here, and I built around all 3 of these abilities. Also, it's a non-creature spell in mono white, which is interesting. You're doing a little bit of a spell slinger theme in mono white, which is pretty neat. Obviously, non-creature means it's artifacts and enchantments and everything as well, so we have lots of that in here. In fact, we only have 17 creatures in this deck, not a lot at all, and they're all going to be ones that are going to be very helpful to our strategy. So first of all, mono white non-creature theme. There is a little bit of support there. Monastery Mentor obviously is a great one. Myth Realize is another one as well. Monastery Mentor has that prowess, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a 1/1 white monk creature token with prowess onto the battlefield. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this card in action. It can be really good in a spell slinger theme, just cranking out those monk tokens that also have prowess. Myth Realize is a great one. 1 white mana enchant. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a lore counter on Myth Realized. You can pay 2 and a white to put a lore counter on Myth Realized. So you can just let this sit there. From turn 1, you can play it, and every time you cast a non-creature spell, it's going to be collecting those counters. Or you can pay 3 to put counters on it as well if you got some extra mana open. And then you can just pay 1 white until end of turn. Myth Realized becomes a monk avatar creature. In addition to its other types and gains, this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lore counters on it. I just think this is a great card in a commander game all around. It can just sit there. Even in an enchantment tribal deck, this is great. Enchantments are non-creature, obviously. And also, when you make this a creature, it's still an enchantment. So any of those enchantment protections you might have will still affect it. So it's going to work really great in the deck. I also got Scroll of the Masters here, 2 mana artifact. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a lore counter on Scroll of the Masters, and you can pay 3 and tap. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 till end of turn for each lore counter on Scroll of the Masters. Again, fitting everything we're doing, casting lots of non-creature spells. We are in a little bit of a Voltron strategy here, so this card will work great. Tome of Legends also is great here, of course, because our commander will be ETBing and attacking a lot. So we're going to be putting lots of counters on this as well to draw cards. Hero of Bredegard is a great fit here. One of the few creatures that we put in the deck, because whenever you exile 1 or more cards from your hand or permanents from the battlefield, you put that many +1/+1 counters on Hero of Bredegard. And of course, we'll be blinking our commander all the time. Also do have a lot of other just regular old white exile effects in this deck. So this is just going to be a great fit in the deck, I think. We are also going to be tapping. Anytime you cast a non-creature spell, you can tap target creature. So you definitely want to build around that ability. I got Gideon's Avenger here and Rhoda Geist Avenger. Both of them want us to be tapping our opponent's creatures, right? Gideon's Avenger, whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, put a +1/+1 counter on Gideon's Avenger. So that's going to be happening all the time in a game anyway, but then on top of that, works with our commander's ability. Rhoda, same thing. It's a 3/3 with vigilance, and whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, put a +1/+1 counter on Rhoda Geist Avenger. So similar ability, doesn't count attacking, but is going to count all the tapping we're doing with our commander. I got Steam Catapult and Piercing Rays in here as well, because we can take advantage of the fact that we're tapping our opponent's creatures. Steam Catapult is a card that I've been wanting to put in the deck for a long time. 3 white, human soldier, 2/3. Tap, destroy target tapped creature. Activate only during your turn before attackers are declared. So of course, this is a portal card, so it has that ridiculous activate only during your turn before attackers are declared contingency, which makes it a lot worse because now you can't just destroy your opponent's creatures when they attack you. You can only do it on your turn, but with our commander's ability works great because we can tap down a creature and then immediately destroy it. Piercing Rays will also work here. We can pay 1 and a white to exile target tapped creature. Also has Forecast, 2 and a white, reveal Piercing Rays from your hand to tap target target untapped creature. So we can use that a forecast ability as well in combination with some of the tapping we want to be doing. I also got Scaretiller and Stony Brook Schoolmaster in here because we can tap our creatures as well, right? Whenever Scaretiller becomes tapped, you can put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, or return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Stony Brook Schoolmaster, when it becomes tapped, we get to create a 1/1 blue Merfolk wizard creature token. So those will be some nice value in the deck. Remember, we're just going to be casting lots of non-creature spells all the time, right? So having lots of options to choose which one of these abilities we want to use on our commander is going to be really nice to have. And obviously we can also give our commander First Strike and Lifelink. And again, we are doing a little bit of a Voltron strategy here. So just giving our commander those abilities is great, but the Lifelink you can actually build around, right? I put Cradle of Vitality and Nythos Paragon in here. Both of them want us to be gaining life, and both of them have the really important phrase on there where it cares about the amount of life gained. Our commander's a 4/4, so even if we just connect with it, we're going to be gaining 4 life. So that's going to be an important part here. Cradle of Vitality, whenever you gain life, you may pay 1 and a white. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature for each 1 life you gained. So if we gain 4 life, we can pay 1 and a white and put 4 counters on a creature. Could be our commander, could be something else. This is a little bit of a non-bo here. Same with Nythos of Paragon, where it's going to be putting +1/+1 counters on each creature we control whenever we gain life. And the counters don't work great with our commander if we're going to be blinking, because obviously it'll go away. We'll still get the counters on other creatures. We might want to Cradle of Vitality, put these counters on something else and not our commander, because then we might be blinking it later and we'll lose them. Got to be careful with that. Obviously, Well of Lost Dreams is going to be great here as well. 4 mana artifact. Whenever you gain life, you may pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gained if you do draw X cards. So again, if our commander is just a 4/4 and we attack with it with lifelink, we'll be able to pay 4 and draw 4 cards. That's fantastic. A Voltron strategy can be tough with a commander that is blinking, but I found some equipment that do work here. They're not super overwhelming, but they work great with what we're doing. Storm Rider Rig and Sigh of the Shinobi. Both of them just give +1/+1, but both of them, when a creature enters the battlefield under our control, we can just attach them. So we don't have to keep paying the equip cost. So if we keep blinking our commander comes back into play and we can immediately attach these equipment to them without having to worry about the equip cost. Grafted War Gear will also work here. 3 mana equipment, equipped creature gets +3/+2. Has equip 0, but whenever Grafted War Gear becomes unattached from a creature, you have to sacrifice it. So again, we don't want to have to pay the equip cost. We can just immediately equip this on our commander before we attack on our turn. The good thing here is when we blink our commander, Grafted War Gear will become unattached and will force us to sacrifice that creature, but our commander is in exile, and when it comes back into play, it's considered a new creature. So this will work. It will never force us to sacrifice our commander if we're doing that blink ability. I also got Greatsword of Tyr in here just because I thought it was a great fit in the deck. 1 and a white equipment. From the new Commander Legends Baldur's Gate set, whenever equipped creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it and tap up to 1 target creature defending player controls. So I know, again, we're doing the counter thing, which doesn't necessarily work great with our commander. However, I like the tapping there because the tapping works with what we're doing, and also just has equip 1 white mana, has a really cheap equip cost, which is good. I got a couple other equipment in this deck as well that have a cheap equip cost that we can just re-equip all the time. I also threw Reaping the Rewards in this deck. I thought we want to be casting non-creature spells all the time. Having at least 1 card in our deck with a buyback would be nice. Only 1 white mana. It's an instant. We get to gain 2 life. That's okay. Also works with the life gain theme that we have in the deck as well, but has a buyback, a sacrifice, a land, which essentially means it's free, right? In a mono white deck, we can just pay 1 white mana, sacrifice a land later in the game, and just keep casting this over and over and over again if we really, really need that cast a non-creature spell trigger. This spell, even though it doesn't seem great, is just a great thing to have in your hand if you need to, in a pinch, cast that non-creature spell to get whatever effect you want off of your commander. So I think it is a really good include. But that is my Ojutai Exemplars Commander deck tech, and of course, not a legendary creature. As I always have to say, give the little addendum at the end, you can't actually show up to a table with this and expect people to be okay with it. You have to okay it with them first. Like, I think the best option for any of these decks that I make like this is to discuss it with your play playgroup, I can't imagine anybody would have an issue with this as a commander. It's not that powerful. It's mono white. So if your playgroup says it's okay, you can go ahead, put this deck together, and then, you know, obviously you never again have to worry about playing it that way. You can put the deck together, play with random people, and ahead of time ask them if it's okay if you play your Ojutai Exemplars deck. I think it's quite likely that you could just show up to a game with this and people wouldn't even realize it's not a legendary creature. Nevertheless, you should talk to your playgroup ahead of time, whoever you might be playing with. The deck list is in the description below for anyone who wants to go ahead and build this deck. That is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.